So namaste. Good evening, everyone. So I welcome you all to our panel discussion, addressing the SDGs from the root. I'm Dr. Supraja. I will be moderating for today's discussion. So in our yesterday's discussion, we have focused on the need for addressing SDG from the root for the fulfillment of SDG goal. So before we move on to the agenda for today, I now invite Dr. Geeta Paturaju Geetaji, over to you.
Thank you, Supraja. I will just share the slide in a minute. Just give me a second.
No issues, Geetaji.
Is it visible, Didi?
Yes, the screen is visible. You can put on a full screen mode. Yeah.
Yes. So, yeah. So the key highlights of the discussion for day one, I would like to just place the points before the panelists. SDGs are not being addressed at the root levels. Most of the panelists highlighted this fact. Seeing the interconnectedness among the SDGs are very important for its fulfillment. A need to bring in a holistic approach to solving problems and bottlenecks in SDG implementation. Consumerism has become the priority of education institutions, which needs to change. The bookish knowledge being imparted to students is not helpful, and we need to bring in ethical aspects and real life values to the students. The immediate risk of not addressing the challenges in SDG implementation is environmental changes that we are seeing, societal unrest, wars, etc. Sustainable and people-friendly technologies to be created and used. And lastly, fostering global culture and introducing value education is the key for sustainable development and establishing a holistic order. So these were the key points from the day one discussion. Thank you. Supraja.
Thank you, Geetaji, for briefing the conclusion remarks from the yesterday's discussion. So let me give you the agenda for the day. We will be having introduction of the panel members and then followed by UHV point of view for SDGs vision, followed by the panel discussion with the panelists, and we'll be having a concluding remark. So we have esteemed panel with us today, consisting of experts from various fields who will be sharing their insights on the current approach for the vision of SDG and the potential benefit for more on the holistic approach. Now, I would like to introduce our esteemed panel members one after the another. First, we have our expert, Dr. Gopal Babuji. He is having over 18 years of experience, specialized in holistic development, value education, and he is contributing to this universal human value since 2017. Welcome, Gopal Babuji. And next we have Dr. Vanchana Singh. She is a member from NCC UHV ICT, and she's been involved in the UHV activities national-wide and conducted several AICT UHV workshops. Welcome, Vanchana ji. And another esteemed panelist of today is Dr. Tara Prasnaji, Department of EC from Shiksha Anushanand, Odisha, and more than 14 years of teaching experience he have, and he is associated with the UHV related activities since November 2020. So I take a pride to introduce another panelist, Dr. Deepaji Nair. She is a professor in civil engineering from Cochin University of Science and Technology, and she's a university coordinator in CUSAT and associated with UHV since 2018. And I would like to introduce our another esteemed panelist, Dr. Jyoti ji. She's an assistant professor in sociology and universal human values. And she has 23 years of experience as an educator. And she is committed to promoting this universal human values since 2015. And I would like to introduce our another esteemed panelist for SDG panel. Professor Achna Mishra is working as an assistant professor in physics at PVG College of Engineering and Technology. And she's highly passionate about the environmental concerns associated with the various NGOs. And she's involved in this UHP since 2022. Welcome, Archana ji. And I would like to introduce another panelist for the SDG panel discussion, Dr. Geeta Pothraju ji. She has obtained the PhD in the management from a Department of Business Management, Usmania University, Hyderabad, and she has over 20 years of experience in development consulting. And she's been closely associated with the UHV activities nationwide. And I would like to introduce our next panel member, Ishrat Mizrana ji. She is a professor in the Mechanical Engineering Department. She is also director of RDC, MJCET, and she is involved in this universal human value activities since May 2022. So thank you all for joining with us today. So I'm awaiting to hear your insights and perspective on this important discussion. So I would like to set the stage, briefing out the outline of the vision for this holistic approach when it comes to the SDG. SDG emphasize the wide range of interconnectedness. The holistic approach is important to understand these goals. These goals are not in isolation, but also the part of the layer system. By recognizing these interdependencies among these SDGs, we can able to create more effective strategy that address the root cause of the challenge we face rather than just a symptom. So this is what we have discussed, and this is very crucial for sustainable progress. So with this, we proceed to listen from Dr. Gopal, the UHV point of view of SDG vision. Would you like to share the PPT from your end, Baya, or?
Ma'am, Vanchana, ma'am is
Presenting.
putting this. Yes.
Okay. Sorry. I would like to invite Dr. Vanchana ji to propose the point of view of SDG vision. Vanchana ji, you would like to share the PPT from your end?
Ji. I would share from my end.
Okay, then. Yeah, you can start sharing the PPT from your end, Didi.
Ji. Namaste, everyone. I hope that the PPT is clearly visible.
Yes,
and
Didi.
I am clearly audible to all.
Yes, Didi. Both are fine.
Ji. So it's an honor to present the UHV perspective on vision to address SDGs. As a part of UHV family and team, I have been associated over the last 7 years, and I'm trying to ensure living with right understanding at each and every step. So in our yesterday's session discussion, we focused on the need to address SDGs at the root, these 17 SDGs, which each one of us is looking forward to attain. As the data indicated, showed wide disparities because the approaches that were taken forth till now are not interconnected, are not based with the holistic vision. And today, our focus in this session is in envisioning a humane society where we all together work for these comprehensive goals so that in turn, these SDGs are achieved with a greater pace. As we discussed yesterday, that there has been huge gaps in attainment of these SDGs. Most of them, when we started with the target of 2030, if you look at the current pace, by the time we reach 2030, there is a huge gap which is indicated. So now we are trying to vision out for a humane society which is undivided, which works for universal human order. And to ensure it, we are looking forward to these comprehensive human goals, starting from right understanding, right feeling at the level of every individual. So, in this UHV approach, in the form of proposals, we are taking up each of these one after the other. Starting from the individual level, when we look at our complete expanse of living, each one of us is living as an individual, as a member of family, as a part of this society, and as a part of this entire nature. And thus, ensuring a humane society means that we work together coherently for these comprehensive human goals, which are listed over here. Starting from right understanding, right feeling at the level of every individual, working for health in a holistic manner so that every individual can ensure health holistically. Every family can work towards ensuring prosperity so that eventually the society is ensuring fearlessness and there is mutual enrichment at the level of nature. And once we work for this humane society, one after the other, we can see each of these SDGs to be attained with this holistic understanding. So, if we want to work for goal one, that is no poverty, can we really ensure poverty not being seen without working for this mass consumerism that we're seeing all around? Now, if we really want to work for attainment of SDG 1, right, this human goal 1 is very important. Through this human goal 1, we are working towards ensuring developing people with right understanding who can ensure working for harmony, who can ensure living with right feeling, developing the right skill set. So, this humane education is providing the base for all the other goals, starting from the individual level. And we move ourselves away from these gross misunderstandings. These gross misunderstandings that show currently the generation is lopsided with this money is everything. There is indulgence at all levels, and thus there is obsession for consumption, profit, and sensual pleasure. And it is somehow adding on to this rich poor divide. There are issues like terrorism, war, resource depletion, and all. So, the humane education is an answer to all these gross misunderstandings which we see around. When we work for human goal 1 and 2, that is right understanding through the process of education, right feeling at the level of every individual, and we work for ensuring the understanding of health at a holistic level so that every individual can ensure for it. That means everyone works for the feeling of self regulation, and health is provided as service at the level of society where people are not working for profit maximization. With that, we work towards realizing the SDG 3. So, all these SDGs, we can find connection with these human goals. And working for these human goals can ensure transition of each one of us together collectively from this lower domain to this higher domain where these goals are at the center. Again and again, we need to ask this question to ourselves, that are we really ensuring that our education focuses with this vision? In fact, when we look at understanding of relationships, when we look at ensuring social systems which will work to ensure prosperity in every family, instead of focusing on GDP, when we are working for all these goals, we are working to attain sustainability goals 1, 2, 8, 9, and so on. With a responsible consumption and production, we ensure sustainability and in each and every dimension of our living. So we can see how closely these human goals are interconnected with these SDGs. And if we are looking forward to solving these SDGs or ensuring fulfillment of these SDGs in an incoherent approach, which means in a piecemeal kind of approach, probably we may not be able to attain them at any given level. And that's why we are looking forward to ensuring the right kind of vision, a vision where social systems ensure working for sustainability, nature friendly production, people friendly production, equitable distribution with the feeling of relationship, conscious consumption, responsible usage. When we look at the current scenario, all this is found to be missing because the vision that we want to acquire to ensure it is not being taken forth in the righteous way. When we work for human goals 1, 2, 3, 4, these SDGs 10, 11, 16, 17, all these are accomplished one after the other. There is trust at the level of family. Moving ahead with more and more families ensuring the feeling of trust, there is trust at the level of state, at the level of nation, at the level of world. So the current issues that we are seeing around us, so much instability in the world dynamics, right, is an indicator of the lack of fearlessness at the level of society. Everyone is working in such a way that let my resources be meant for myself instead of focusing on this interconnectedness, instead of focusing on the right goals which we are looking forward to. So creating an awareness with this vision can only help in attaining these SDGs. And we can see that in a collective approach, when we start from goal one, that is right understanding, right feeling at the level of every individual, and we move ahead with one goal after the other, we eventually are able to work up to the level of nature, which means we ensure living with fulfillment within our nature. We can see that all resources are not meant to serve the human being, not meant to serve the mankind. In fact, I am a part, as a human being, I'm part of this entire nature, this entire existence. I'm not the master. And thus, with that clarity, I eventually work forward to SDG 6, SDG 7, 13, 14, 15. That means I look forward to clean water, sanitation. I look forward to right kind of climate, which I'm blessed with and which I'm spoiling with my own activities, which I'm carrying out without any vision. So every time we are focusing on the vision, we need to ensure that these comprehensive human goals are there and all our actions are directed towards these comprehensive human goals so that each one of us is able to ensure this transformation. So, with this, I put forth my point of view, which I have been able to acquire through my own understanding of UHV, that is Universal Human Values, which has enabled me to ensure this holistic vision. So, this was what I wanted to put as a vision with respect to the UHV perspective, how we can look forward to addressing these SDGs. And over to you, Supraja ji, for further discussions. I'll stop sharing from my end and thank you for providing me this opportunity to put forth my viewpoint and share it amongst this august gathering of all the delegates.
Thank you, Vanchana ji, for discussing for sharing the UHP perspective and envisioning us with the common human goal. And what you have mentioned, that the approach what we are currently handling is not interconnected, and we could able to see the huge gap in attainment of these SDG goals, and how this human education is provide a base for all the goals, and the development is not in the means of GDP, and it's of holistic transformation. And you also showed us how this 5 common human goal helped us to achieve this 17 SDG goals. And it's quite interesting to understand the interconnectedness between these goals through this holistic bring in your presentation that human is not the master of sharing the insight and UHV perspective towards addressing this SDG. So with this discussion, now let me open up the forum for the panel discussion. Let us get an elaborate viewpoint from each of our esteemed panelists, one after the another. I would like to begin the panel discussion with Dr. Geeta Patrajuji. Geeta Patrajuji, could you able to share with us your perspective? What do you think is the most important? What do you think is the most important SDG, and why should we focus on it at the root level?
Thank you, Suprajaji. But this is a very difficult question to, I think, address. But I will go with the poverty element, because I think the basic for human existence, I think the basic sustenance of food is very critical. So for me, poverty elevation would be the most important SDG, because that the interconnectedness we are talking about, if the poverty aspect is taken care, if children, people living in remote rural areas, they are fed, so automatically education, health, all these are taken care of. So I feel, according to me, poverty is something that is very, very critical and needs to be addressed.
Thank you, Geeta ji. As you mentioned, from your perspective, you feel that poverty alleviation is most important SDGs to address. So let us hear from some of our other panelists. Dr. Gopal Babu, what do you think is the most important SDG, and why should we focus on it at the root level?
Yes, ma'am. So thank you, Suprajaji, for giving me an opportunity to put my perspective on this. So from my perspective, the most important SDG, which is to be addressed immediately, is the quality education. Quality education that is able to ensure this holistic worldview. Why it is important? Because many of the problems of the society that are visible now are because of this lack of understanding of interconnectedness and coexistence, lack of understanding of holistic worldview. So, for example, as Geeta ji was telling, the poverty issue. So, if you see this issue of poverty, most of the people are living in poor condition, not because of the financial issues. They are living because of the lack of clarity. For example, if you see these developed countries, those who are affluent, so their lifestyle is so unsustainable. They are consuming so much that for many resources are not fulfilled. So if they are able to see interconnectedness, they are able to have this holistic value, they can distribute their resources, they can serve their resources to those people who are really lacking in the society. And due to this lack of worldview, many problems persist in the society. For example, problem of environment. So I can give you one example for this problem of environment. How can it be solved through the holistic worldview? So during my PhD, I went through a case study. So I was reading to Alan Savory. Alan Savory was a scientist from Zimbabwe. So during his PhD, he concluded that problem of desertification can be solved through killing the large animals like elephant, because he thought that large animals are overgrazing the forest, due to which this problem of deforestation persists. And he logically convinced, mathematically convinced in his PhD that these animals should be killed so that resources may be available to rest of the animals. And with the approval of government, he killed 10,000 big animals like elephant. And then he started to observe whether this problem of desertification was solved or not. But during that time, over that time, he realized that desertification happened rapidly, exponentially after killing these elephants. Then he realized that he had committed some mistake. Then he corrected his worldview and he found the solution. He started holistic grazing. He collected many animals and started this grazing, and soon the whole forest revived just because of he was able to see interconnectedness between animals and forest. So this problem was very uh, prominent that it is solved just because of the worldview. So what I think the most important SDG is to quality education and education of this holistic worldview, and most of the problem can be solved with this quality education. So this is my perspective. Thank you, Supraja ji.
Thank
Yes.
you, Dr. Gopalji. Bringing in that quality education is the most important SDG. And as you mentioned, in your point, you mentioned many problems in the society is because of this lack of understanding and of this coexistence, and more accumulations and assumption, consumption is because of this lack of clarity. And there is no feeling of relationship to share these resources with others. And thanks for, and you've been highlighting that Alan Survey case study to revitalize this forest resource. And it's nice to hear from you, Gopalji. In this continuation, I would invite Dr. Manisha ji. What is your point of view on this discussion?
Manisha ji is not a panelist, Supraja ji, so we can move to
Okay.
next.
Okay, so let me move on to the next panelist, Archana Mishra ji. What do you think? In your point of view, what is the most important SDG and why should we focus on it at the root level?
Yeah, thank you, Rene. So actually, I would really buy all the points which are mentioned by Gopal Babu, and I also feel that the most important SDG which can be addressed is value education, the education which will lead to the holistic development. And therein, if that particular SDG is addressed in a right way, probably the other SDGs will get addressed automatically. And so for that, in during the in the value education, in the education, what the students can be imbibed upon is how overall the relationship with the human being, relationship with the nature, and if the students are able to understand in this all the relationship with human being, human to human relation, I mean to say, then relationship with nature, then probably many of the SDGs will get solved automatically. If we are able to educate the students in a right way, then of course the SDGs can be very much are attainable to a larger extent, and so we can actually focus on this particular aspect of education. So I feel that the most important SDG is value education.
Thank you, Archana ji, for you're also again iterating the same quality education should need to get a clarity on relationship with human being and relationship with the nature and its interconnectedness. So as mentioned, many SDG problem will be resolved. Thank you for putting forward your perception. So now let us hear from our panelist, Dr. Vanchana Singh. In your opinion, what should be the top priority for the nation today to ensure the long-term success of the SDGs? What do you think, Vanchana ji?
Thank you for this important question. In fact, when we look at the programs that nations are focusing on, without the right kind of vision, all these programs somehow at the base, at the root, lack the clarity. So, looking at the current scenario, if we want the long term assurance of fulfillment of these SDGs, the priority has to be a human education process. Just like I put forth since the UHV perspective, what I can see is that all these 5 comprehensive goals that we talk about, starting from right understanding, right feeling at the level of individual, can be ensured in every individual through the process of education. We talk of quality education, but this word quality is very deceiving in the sense that the current scenario is quality implies to better infrastructures. That means we are only focusing on materialistic viewpoint, and we are not focusing on ensuring the right understanding at the level of every individual. So, in my opinion, for the current scenario where we all are conscious now, there is this awakening at each and every level. So, every nation is trying to work in some or the other way, but without the right kind of vision, something is going amiss. And that's why acquiring the right perspective, acquiring the right kind of vision can help in ensuring that we all work forward in collaborations amongst all nations on a global front to ensure a human process of education. So, this humane education is very important. With this humane education, we are sowing the right kind of seeds so that it nurtures into the right kind of environment for the upcoming generations, and these SDGs are taken forward in long terms. So this is how I would like to see the priorities for the nations today.
Thank you, Vanchana ji, for sharing your point of view that priority has to be given for a human education. Just with by you right understanding and right feeling can be achieved through this education. And you also brought in the point of the word quality is now currently focused on the materialistic, which needs to understand it's for the right understanding. The points are well taken, Vanchana ji. So let us have the opinion from Dr. Jyoti ji. What is your opinion? What should be the top priority for the nations today to ensure this long-term success of the SDGs?
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks for the nice question. But what I feel, this is the same question with a new flavor. What is the most important, and at the collective level, of course. So what I feel the top priorities is should be definitely very first is the quality education and no hunger also. We should focus on that also. Quality education is necessary to address the global challenges collectively, as we are talking about the national level, national or the international level. So we have to address at the collective level and work as a global village to ensure the sustainable development for all. And by ensuring the sustainable development, we will be able to promote the human rights and the dignity of any individual, which we are working for the no hunger. Everyone should get the basic requirements. So what happens if we will be able to achieve the SDGs, especially what I am talking about, these two, no hunger and the quality education, we can improve the quality of life also. And with the quality education, what right now the my co-panelists said, that the quality word is many times misinterpreted as per the materialistic requirement. So quality life can be improved only with the environmental improvement. So environment must be protected to increase global cooperation. And basically, when we are talking about the nation-wise long-term insurance of the SDGs, who is responsible to ensure these long terms? This is also important. So, main stakeholders are the government, private sector, civil societies, international organizations, and individuals. For example, right now, private sector, I said. So the system or the fashion of the private universities is also increased. And what these private, what is the responsibilities of education system cannot change on the private or the government sector. Education is education, whether we are private or government, we should be provide at the lowest level, or the cost should be minimum for the students, so that each and every person can get through that education. So we have to explore each and every unit to understand, like at the individual level, what we can do for the what may be our responsibilities for the society. At the family level, what is the our responsibilities at the society level, and of course very important at the nature level, because each and every work of humanity is directly related to the nature. So every word should be redefined. What I feel leading to the physical facilities, we are trying to and increasing the level of physical facilities for the sustainability, and we assume that it will lead to the happiness. So we have to redefine the word, that's what is sustainability. We have to redefine the word what is development, and what are the goals. Is we are we following the proper goals? Like, life is important above all. Our work, our skills, above all, life is important. So we have to work for the basic aspirations. Are we working for it or not, for our basic aspiration, or we are directly following the goals made by the society? So these are the some major issues we can discuss and we can address at the top priority level for the by the nation for the long term success of SDGs. What I feel.
Thank you,
ma'am.
Jyoti. Thank you, Jyoti, for putting forward that again, quality education is one of the top priority to ensure the long-time success. So that through that we can able to address the global challenge collectively. So, and also you have put forward the point like no hunger, that every human should get the basic requirements, and also the education should reach every human, so that the each human can able to understand what is their role with the at the level of individual, family, and with the society and the nature. Thank you for putting forward your perception, Jyotiji. So now let us hear from Imanshu ji. What do you think? What, in your perspective, what should be the top priority for the nation today to ensure this long-term success of SDG?
We can skip Himanshu ji also.
Okay. So can we hear from Vijayashri?
Yes, ma'am. When we are going for the opinion regarding the top
Vijayashri ji?
priority. Didi, can you hear me?
Yes, Vijayashri ji. Please go ahead.
Yeah. When we are seeing with respect to this top priority, I also go with the quality education, because when we are going with the quality education for the current generation, I think we can approximately go with 4 to 5 SDGs, which is inclining with zero hunger, like which is inclining with other SDGs and all. So quality education is a must, which has to be taken up to the current generation. So with respect to that, we will be able to at least ensure the long-term success of the SDGs, because in the current generation they have to know what is required for this for the upcoming generations and all, and through that only I think we can be implementing the SDG goals. So quality education has to be given to the students, to the current generation students, and so that they will be coming with respect to what we have to do, everything everything they have to know with what and why. So based on that, they will be having a clear idea of what is required, and so that they can work accordingly. That is my perspective with respect to the top priority of for the nation.
Thank you, Vijayashree, that again you are reiterating the point that quality education is important SDG, and so students could able to explore themselves if they could able to know what is required and why it is required. Yeah, your points are well taken. So now let me hear from Dr. Geeta Patraju. Geeta Patraju, what role do you see for education and capacity building in creating a sustainable vision for achieving this SDG?
Yeah, Supraja ji, now many of us have highlighted in the panel that quality education will be very, very critical for achieving the SDG goals. So definitely a strong foundation uh, in education where the holistic approach is taken and the necessary capacities are built in individuals who are going through this education system. As we say, value-based skill education, if values can be also imbibed by the stakeholders in the education system, definitely when they blossom into different capacities in different aspects of the nation, they will be able to, as policymakers, as businessmen, as other in when they play other roles as homemakers, and so many roles they play. So with the right kind of right understanding, with the right idea about uh, these important values, I think it becomes much easier to achieve the sustainable development goals. And that's how I see this going.
Nice, Geeta ji. You mentioned that value-based skill education playing a major role to achieve this sustainable vision towards this SDG. Thank you for putting forward your point of view, Geeta ji. Let us also hear from some of our panelists. Dr. Vanchana Singh, what is your viewpoint on this discussion?
Am I clearly audible, Didi?
Yes, Didi, you're audible.
Ji. So regarding what I could see is that this education and capacity building is something which is very, very important to create a sustainable vision for achieving SDGs. In fact, the route at which one needs to work, as I put forth in my previous reflection also, that one needs to work at the level of education, a human education, which ensures developing the capacity to live in relationships with others, capacity to ensure acquiring the right skills. This skill set is very, very important because the technology that is advancing day by day, if is not ensuring this right understanding, we don't know which direction it may end up, where can it go, and thus this sustainable vision misses altogether. So if we look at the current consumption rate, currently what a normal person is consuming is much, much larger than what was the consumption of the biggest of the dynasties some 300, 400 years back. So the current consumption rates are not at all in accordance with a sustainable viewpoint, a sustainable vision. And therefore, it is only this process of education which can ensure developing this understanding at the level of every individual, so that one is conscious enough at each level of one's living that one look forwards to living with sustainability at the core. Now, looking at sustainability in a core cannot come through any kind of dogmas, any kind of frameworks which we can dictate on someone else. It's a way of living, and that way of living can only be ensured with right understanding. So, entirely again and again, we find that unless the education is in that correct vision, which means where the focus of the education is shifted from a materialistic perspective or a consumer kind of a behavior to a holistic vision where right understanding lies at the core of everything, we can only look forward to creating a sustainable vision for achieving SDGs. So, in fact, what I find is that our vision cannot be able to ensure the right kind of attainments of SDGs if it is not holistic, if it is not focusing on humane education process.
Thank you, Vanchana ji, for elaborating your view in this discussion that the root that one needs to understand is in human education, and through that one can able to build the capacity to live in the relationship, also able to acquire the right skill. And the point is well taken what you have mentioned, that consumption of what every individual is doing now is a huge without the clarity about the sustainability is a core. Thank you, Vanchana Singh. Let us hear from Dr. Gopal Babu. What do you think, Dr. Gopal, giving this global disparities in the development, how can we create a unified vision that address the unique challenge faced by different regions in achieving these SDGs?
Yes, Suprajaji. So, from my point of view, we should discuss local challenges. So, sustainability is something that cannot be ensured centrally. Every local community, countries should create principles, should create policies to ensure this sustainability. And at global level, it is required to understand the local challenges. What challenges countries are facing, what challenges local areas are facing. So this should be discussed at global level. That will unify the vision. Similarly, we should increase number of summits where we will be discussing a unified vision, a common vision. And secondly, we should promote globally to local production. We should promote globally to have holistic technologies. We should promote globally to ensure, to enrich, to empower local communities. And we should distribute responsibility at local level. So there is a need to create local stakeholder for sustainability. It cannot be ensured centrally. So there is a requirement of decentralized approach. And this decentralized approach can be discussed at a global platform. So I believe if we are approaching this methodology, then definitely we can overcome the problem of unsustainability. Similarly, regarding production system, so many MNCs, they are adopting unethical practices. They are producing more and more without understanding their needs. So at global level, we can decide how much production is required to run a society. What kind of technology is required so that it can enrich human being and also it can enrich rest of nature. So these kind of issues we can discuss at global level, and definitely they will create a unified vision. And these vision will address the challenges faced by different regions in achieving the SDGs. So this is my point of view. So Priyaji.
Thank you, Gopalji. It's very interesting that you have mentioned it is important to address this local challenges, and we should create a principle. By doing this, the global level should able to discuss the local level, and we can create the unified vision and how this global thing should promote the local production, encourage the local communities. And you have also bring out how more and more production is creating a problem and how much required to be identified properly. Nice discussion, Gopalji. So let us also hear from Archana Mishra ji. What is your perspective in this discussion, Archana ji? How can we create a
Yes.
unified vision?
Yes, Siddhi. Acha, unified vision. From my perspective, when we talk about unified vision, bringing everyone together so that whatever are the unique challenges which are faced by different regions to achieve the SDGs, that would get addressed. And in that case, for me, as I mentioned in the initial question, which was related to most important SDGs, so quality education. And in the quality education, I am a strong advocate of value education with a UHV approach. If we are going by this universal human values approach, in that case, what we would be able to do is we would be able to again saying that the people will have a clear understanding about what is human to human relation, and also they will be able to understand about the relationship with nature, as a result of which whatever are the discriminations, whatever are the disparities which are there in the development, right development, that will be getting addressed. And so for me, the unified vision will be this key. All of the people around the world, worldwide, they are brought together to set them into a path where almost everybody will be able to see a single, same vision they will have. And for that, such kind of education, if we are able to inculcate or if we are able to spread these words of wisdom which are being talked about in the value education, I'm sure that really will help in addressing the various challenges which are faced in achieving the SDGs.
Yeah, Archana ji. So you're also mentioning that quality education is playing a major role, and if all can able to see the common vision of the what is development, what is the right development, and the quality education is a key for everyone to understand this common vision. Thank you for putting forward this your perception, Archana ji. Let us also hear from Jyoti ji. What do you think, Jyoti ji? How do you envision the role of technology and innovation in transforming our approach to solving this SDG related challenges?
Thank you, ma'am. Technology is definitely a but emerging issue in the present scenario. So what I found that when we talk about the top priority and most important SDGs, so quality education comes all the time on the top. And when we are talking about the education, so formal and informal, two types of educations we have to follow. And in both type of the education, the role of technology is very important. And as per our technology, our SDGs, we are working on the climate action and the renewable energy in SDG 7 and 13, and we are working quality education under SDG uh, uh, 4, and good health under SDG 3. So many governments are prioritizing all these SDGs at the global level, and technology is definitely there. We can say the health. We can say take the example of the health sector, SDG 3. Uh, Technology is definitely playing a very vital role to achieve a good health, but darker side is also there. So when we talk about the technology, we should be very careful about the pros and cons of the technology. For example, I can say take the example for SDG related to health. We are definitely using technology for a better health, but in the present scenario, the misuse of technology is also there in the sector of health. For example, if I go to the doctor and doctor immediately said me to, yeah, take the test, and this is very simple. Once I met a boy of hardly 13 or 14-year old. And
Sorry for interrupting, Ji. Considering the time, can you able to briefly tell your
okay,
point
okay.
on this perspective? Thank you,
Okay, okay. So I just conclude that technology is definitely playing a very vital role to achieve the SDGs, but we should be very, very careful about its negative impacts also. Thank you, Didi.
Thank you, Jyoti, for putting forward again the quality education is playing a major role, and even though the technology is playing a major role, we also see the impact of it, the other side of it. So I would like to thank all the panelists for sharing uh, with all the discussions. Um, with all these discussions, we could able to see that there is a huge gap with the current approach, and there is a need of addressing this SDGs in the holistic approach. And all your points, what you have discussed, is well taken, and we could able to get your inputs, gather a lot of meaningful points from the discussion and different viewpoints, insights, opinions towards this common vision. So I want to extend my heartfelt thanks to all the panelists for their valuable contribution, for your meaningful engagement today. And I appreciate all your participation. And as we are approaching towards the end of our today's discussion, before we conclude, I would like to announce that our next session will be focusing on addressing SDG from the root, the implementation viewpoint. So tomorrow we will start our discussion with the concluding remarks of today's discussion. And I look forward to see you all tomorrow and we continue our meaningful discussion. Thank you all. Namaste.
Thank you, ma'am.
Raya, should we close the session or what are we gonna do?
Yes, we can close it and we can move to the lobby.
Oh, lobby, we will be having the another half an hour discussion.